everybody, and welcome to my series of videos of counting to 100 in 100 languages. Today I'm going to do Spanish, and this was particularly easy just because I'm fluent in Romanian, and I did learn it in high school, so I'm not really fluent in Spanish, but I can understand it pretty well. So before I start counting, I usually give a brief history of the language. Its history is very similar to the history of Portuguese. In fact, the languages are mutually intelligible in writing. So let's get started with the history. So it's predominantly spoken in Latin, and just to clarify that, it's not only history, I'm just giving a background of the language in general. So it's predominantly spoken in Latin America as well as Spain. It's the official language of Argentina, Bolivia. In fact, in Bolivia, it's the co-official language with a bunch of other indigenous languages. It's official language in Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, Cuba, Dominican Republic, Ecuador, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Mexico, where it's the co-official language with 63 other indigenous languages. Nicaragua, Panama, Paraguay, it's a co-official language with Guaraní. Peru, is the co-official language with Quechua, Aymara, and other indigenous languages. Puerto Rico, where it's the co-official language of English. Uruguay, Venezuela, and Venezuela. So it's very widely spoken. It's a very widely spoken language. Spanish has no official recognition in the former British colony of Belize, which was news to me. I thought it was the official language of Belize, but it's spoken by 43% of the people over there. It is one of the official languages of the United Nations. Spanish was removed from the official status and added back a number of times in the Philippines, but eventually it was removed again, so I believe it doesn't have official status at the moment. And now there's hardly any Spanish speakers in the Philippines. Okay, so it's the most common second language in U.S. It's spoken by approximately 480 million speakers as a primary language and 75 million people as a secondary language. It is part of the Ibero-Romance group of languages and evolved from Vulgar Latin, just like Portuguese, when the Roman Empire collapsed in the 5th century. It is one of the closest languages to Latin, with 75% of its vocabulary derived from Latin. 8% of its vocab actually comes from Arabic, from the An-Andalus era of the Iberian Peninsula. Spanish texts can be traced back to the mid-northern Iberia in the 9th century. First systemic written use dates back to 1492 in Toledo, prominent city of the Kingdom of Castile. I'm not that good at history, but you guys can read about it more. Some overview about its grammar. Most grammatical features are shared with other Romance languages. The phonemic, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right, but the phonemic system is derived from Vulgar Latin. Each syllable in Spanish has approximately the same duration regardless of stress. And I think I understand what that means. I think it's not the case in French, for example, if you compare how they sound. Anyways, you can read about that more too if you're interested. Spanish and Portuguese speakers can communicate in written form with variable degrees of mutual intelligibility. So I thought that was interesting. It's much more intelligible between the Spanish and Portuguese speakers in written form, but when it's spoken, it's a lot harder for Spanish or Portuguese people to understand each other. And the difficulties in spoken form has more to do with the phonology rather than the grammatical dissimilarities. Okay. Spanish is obviously written in Latin script. All right, so that's all I have for the overview and the history, and I'm gonna get counting. The counting system is very simple. Basically, making compound numbers is essentially you just say the tens of the number, and you say "and," which is "e" in Spanish, and then you say the single number after that. Numbers 10 to 20, very similar to Portuguese, somewhat similar to French. Anyways, you guys will see. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, I'm gonna go from 11 to 20. 11, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 20. Alright, so to make compound numbers of 20, like I said before, making compound numbers, you just say the tens of the number, and then you say E, and then you say the single digit. However, with 20, it kind of blends together. Like you, even when you're writing it down, you don't put like the Y there. You just, it blends together. So for 21, it would be 21, 21, 22, 23, 24. Okay, so I'm gonna start again and go up to 30, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Okay, now with making compound numbers of 30, it's somewhat the same thing, but you say 30 and 1, which is 30. Like to say 31, you'd say 30 and 1, so 31. But you kind of blend it all together. In written form, it is like it doesn't blend. In written form, you'd say 30 and 1, but when you're saying it, you kind of blend all the words together. So 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. 40 is 40. Alright, I'm going to go from 40 to 50. 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. 50 is 50. Alright, same thing, same rule. 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, and 60. 60 is 60. 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, and 70 is 70. 70. So 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80. 80 is 80. 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, and 90 is 90. Alright, last 10 numbers, well actually last 11 numbers. 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, and 100 is 100. 100. 100. I think I'm saying that right. 100. 100. 100. Alright guys, again, I'm not a fluent Spanish speaker, so you guys probably shouldn't be learning these numbers for me, but I do know some Spanish, so I hope I did right. I hope I did okay. If you guys speak Spanish, let me know how I did, and stay tuned for more videos. And God bless. Bye.